Okay, so where we're about to pick up again is later on in the book, or in this video, where they're in New York. They've chased down another sorcerer of the seven, I mean, of the eight towers, and these two are. One is a Hindu, uh, whatever, Buddhist, whatever. Those guys, I don't, I'm tired, whatever. And the other one's an Arab sorcerer, and they're both in New York, and they're looking for certain roots, so, certain roots that they can mold into people and give them life by praying to the Dark Planet, and they're gonna stop. And this girl's gonna take them on and stop them and stuff. I just wanted you to hear about how they did it in this, at least in this guy's opinion, you know.
Bed and mold it for a few moments between his lean, sinewy fingers, and then he'd open his hands, and something alive, something small like a rat, or a toad, or God knows what, would escape from between his palms and run out into the grass. Selden's voice failed, and he looked at Cleves with sickened eyes. I can't make you understand how repulsive to me it was to see a wriggling live thing creep out between their fingers and go running or scrambling away, little loathsome things with humpy backs that hopped or scurried through the grass. What on earth were these Yezidis doing, Tressa? Asked Cleves almost roughly. The girl's white face was marred by the imprints of deepening horror. It is the Chordog, she said mechanically. They are using every resource of hell to destroy me, testing the gigantic power of evil as though it were some vast engine charged with thunderous destruction, and they were testing it to discover its terrific capacity to annihilate. Her voice died in her dry throat. She dropped her bloodless visage into both hands and remained seated so. Both men looked at her in silence, not daring to interfere. Finally the girl lifted her pallid face from her hands. That is what they were doing, she said in a dull voice. Out of the inanimate earth they were making things animate, living creatures to test the hellish power which they are storing, concentrating for my destruction. What is their purpose? Asked Cleves harshly. What do these Mongol sorcerers expect to gain by making little live things out of lumps of garden dirt? They are testing their power, whispered the girl. Like tuning up a huge machine, muttered Selden. Yes. For what purpose? To make larger living creatures out of clay. They can't create, exclaimed Cleves. I don't know how, by what filthy tricks they make rats out of dirt, but they can't make anything like a man. Tressa's body trembled slightly. Once, she said, in the temple, Prince Anang took dust which was brought in sacks of goatskin and fashioned the heap of dirt with his hands so that it resembled the body of a man lying there on the marble floor under the shrine of Erlik. And then, there in the shadows where only the dark star burned, that black...
See, the dark star, they're connected. For some reason in this book, they seem to be in a constant communication with this star. They're praying to it, whatever, and that's how they're connected to this thing.
Lamp, which is called the Dark Star, the long heap of dust lying there on the marble pavement, began to breathe. She pressed both hands over her breast as though to control her trembling body. I saw it. I saw the long shape of dust begin to breathe, to stir, move, and slowly to lift itself. A Yezidi trick, gasped Cleves, but he also was trembling now. God, whispered the girl. Allah alone knows, the merciful, the long-suffering. He knows what it was that we temple girls saw there, that Yulan saw, that Sansa and I beheld there, rising up like a man from the marble floor, and standing erect in the shadowy twilight of the dark star. Her hands gripped at her breast. Her face was deathly. "Then," she said, "I saw Prince Anang draw his saber of Indian steel, and he struck, once only, and a dead man fell down where the thing had stood, and all the marble was flooded with scarlet blood." "A trick," repeated Cleves, in the ghost of his own voice, but his gaze grew vacant. Presently Selden spoke in tones that sounded weakly querulous from emotional reaction. "There is a path, a tunnel under the matted briars. It took me more than a week to cut it out. It is possible to reach Fool's Acre. We can try with our rifles,
All right.
if you say so, Miss."
So I'm gonna stop it there. I think you get the gist of it. That it seems as if, at least in this guy's opinion, in his novel that he wrote, you know, he knows of some sort of ability to take certain roots and certain dirt with the certain prayers to what I believe may be Molech, you know, or Moloch, because Moloch's the male part of this deity. Molech is the female, Moloch is the male. But pray to this thing, and it gives them the information it needs to bring forth a living entity out of it. And that's what I thought of when I thought about what, like, this video the other day, right? And I've mentioned this to people, but like I said, I get shut down because, you know, I mean, it's the occult, you know, and all this other stuff. So, and this is just my personal opinion, what I believe the Dark Star is. If we look at Saturn for a moment, let's see here. Come on. I think that this is it. Now, you're going to be like, that's crazy. Saturn is not black. But here's the thing. Saturn was known in the past to be called a black sun. That at some point in time, it was in our view. We could see it just like we see the sun. Now it's out of view. When you start going into the certain groups that worship Saturn, they always end up wearing black, like the Nazis. When you start going into these guys, they were also a part of the Brotherhood of Saturn, and that was the reason why they all wore black. Why judges wear black, why priests wear black, why you graduate and you wear a black robe with the cube of Saturn on your head. All you've done is graduated with working papers to go out into the world and work for Saturn, or Kronos, or Moloch, Baal, the bull god. But check this out. Oh, Saturn is not a planet. Saturn is a sun. It actually gives off its own heat. So to say that Saturn is a planet is a lie. It is actually a sun. It gives off its own heat. It's actually, technically, then it would be a star now, because isn't that what a star is? A burning ball of gas, or, you know. So
about your theory about the rings of Saturn and how this all came about.
Okay, really it's not a theory. When you get down to it, you see some pictures and you finally come up with a conclusion as a matter of fact. How I got started was that in 1980, you know, Voyager 1...
There's your Nike logo. With your Nike logo with that check. It's a ring of Saturn.
Had a close encounter with Saturn. And then in August of 1981, Voyager 2 had a similar encounter, and that was only 9 months apart. And I'd made copious notes on each one, and when I compared them, why, there are great changes. A couple of examples are that in the Cassini division, I guess we should explain here that there are 4 major rings in the ring system, A, B, C, and D. And between the A and B ring, there is a division called the Cassini division. that was supposed to be pure space. And on Voyager 1 it looked like that, but on Voyager 2 it was filled with matter. And that came as sort of a surprise, and it wasn't in the script. Then there was, well, the rings on Voyager 2 looked different. On Voyager 1 they were very smooth. On Voyager 2, you may recall, they had a sort of a phonographic record kind of look to them.
Right.
And so all this happened in 9 months, but it really wasn't supposed to, because these rings were supposed to be primordial matter and static, and the matter had collected there over eons. And okay, so it turned out it was dynamic, and that really caught my attention. And so I started to collect images that were in the public domain. And one of the images really fascinated me, in as much as it was very dark. It had a dark background, and I could trace the outer edge of the A-ring on the left side. I could trace it all around, but on the right side, I just couldn't find it.
And I think that picture you have provided to us, it's on our website now, that people can take a look at. Go ahead, Norm.
Yeah, we'll be going to the website so you can get a better look at this. And so that I put this image under a microscope and broke through the dark area.
See if I can jump ahead here.
We're not. You see, once you've got this situation where if they can block the decoding mechanism, you can keep something out of human reality, five sense reality, then, you know, where's the limit? The sky's the limit. And this is happening all the time. And a lot of this manipulation through symbolism is doing that. It's putting blocking frequencies in, so we're not pulling everything into holographic reality that we could be experiencing. And when you start to expand your mind, you might not initially be able to see things that you couldn't before visually, but you can. I mean, how many people have been through this? You can then start to see things in terms of your perception of seeing the world in a completely different way. Oh, I couldn't see that was going on before, but now it's pretty obvious to me. Why? Because you have expanded the realm of, or the range that you are perceiving the world in, and thus you're now starting to look into the world from outside of this matrix.
Here we go. This is what I was getting to, right? This is what I was getting to. I don't know why I wasted all your time on that other part of the stuff. Sorry about that.
Any of you look at Saturn with the naked eye, I defy any of you to tell me you can see rings up there.
Exactly.
I don't think it's possible. So how did the ancients know there were rings?
Oh, yeah. That's a very good question. And why is there a penta? I mean, why is there a hexagram? 6.
Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I can count. Right there at the bottom of Saturn.
Pointed hexagram on the North Pole of Saturn. That's another one too for you. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, a hexagram on Saturn. And I sent you an
Hexagram, and what was it? The hexagram where they don't isn't that what they use to make up the Star of David?
email just now. Do
The
you
Star of Moloch, right? Huh? Or do you sort of see where the connection is there? The Star of Baal.
are you able to?
I'm looking.
I was going to talk about how the name for God is the word God in Hebrew is E-L-L, but the God of the ancient.
Now listen to this, right? We need to look into this and start breaking it down. We don't need to take his word for it. We need to find out for ourselves. You know, this is just a stepping stone.
Saturnian people that we call the Hebrews was they said that his name was 4 letters, which today we refer to it, the spelling of God's name is called the Tetragrammaton.
4 letters. We know what it is. Haya, haya.
And it's the Tetragrammaton, A-T-O-N, Tetragrammaton.
Like Aton?
Aton was a sun in Egypt. The Aton was a sun in Egypt. So that's why you have the 4 letters of the Hebrew alphabet put together for the name of God, and they call that the Tetragrammaton. And when you take those 4 letters in the Hebrew and put them together in a configuration in a circle, they become a swastika. And I just sent you a picture of that.
I see it identically.
Now it makes me wonder, when Lex was breaking down that power source from of the swastika, and he was talking to that Japanese dude. It was the first time I'd ever heard, or not talking to him, but using that video from the Japanese dude. It was the first time I ever wondered, what is the power source behind it? Why did all of these people use it? Why is it seen in Asia? You know what I'm saying? Outside, long before it was even in the property of the Nazis. Why do the Hopi Indians? It was the Hopi or the Apache, one or the other. They also have it and use it. So just questions, critical questions we need to ask.
And for you folks, just imagine a swastika, if you will, and take the 4 arms and pull them directly away from center. Pull the
4
top
L's.
one up, pull the left one to the left, pull the right one to the right, and then you've got an open space in the middle. And you have, basically, if you look at it, you'll have 4 L's in a circle.
Right.
L, 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 L. And in the center would be a circle. Now you have something else in the center on this drawing.
And this is not my drawing. This is from a Jewish reference work.
But that's the point, that these 4 L's make the swastika, and it stands for the sun walking across the sky. How interesting.
And so the Hebrews were involved in sun worship. They were involved in moon worship. They were involved in Saturnian or Saturn worship. They've been involved in the worship of Jupiter.
Which I think that's what we're stuck on right now, is the worship of Jupiter when it comes to Jesus, Zeus, Amon Zeus.
It's very interesting.
It's almost as if we were on Kronos. Kronos was overthrown by his son Zeus, just like in the stories, and now we're stuck in worshiping Zeus, Jesus, whatever, until whatever overthrows Zeus comes next.
When you go back into the history of the Phoenician Canaanite people that we today call Hebrews, and see the Hebrew language is not an exclusive language. This is what people have no idea about, that the Hebrew, when we talk about speaking the Hebrew language, well, first of all, there is no such a thing as a Hebrew language, period. There is a Phoenician Canaanite language which we call Hebrew. And the reason why is because the people we call Hebrews speak this language, and it's a Phoenician Canaanite language, but the Hebrews speak it. So we say...
Well, until I know more about it, I'll just tell you, that's the reason why I have not gone into learning Hebrew. I watch Arthur Scott, he breaks it down for us, teaching us new words every day. But at the same time, it's like until I sit down and get motivated to look into where the Hebrew language comes from, there's so many misleading factors to it as far as, who's using it and how it's being used. Is it Yiddish? Is it not? This like that. That's one of the reasons why when people ask me, why aren't I learning Hebrew? Why am I taking up a Hebrew name? It's because I'm not confident that it's a Hebrew or not yet, which might be dumb because we have the Dead Sea Scrolls we can go to, and read. So, at the same time, like I said, I just haven't taken the time to actually look into it yet. I'm learning my Spanish. I'm even learning a few Native American languages. You know what I'm saying? But I'll get to it eventually.
Well, it's Hebrew. No, it's not Hebrew. It's Phoenician Canaanite. It's a Phoenician language, but the Hebrews speak it. So, understanding that, now you can go into the ancient Phoenician Canaanite gods and see how the Hebrews have brought those ancient Phoenician Canaanite pagan gods into the modern day world, and the symbolism, the occult symbolism of the swastika, the five-pointed star, the pentagram, the symbols on the synagogues, the symbol of the in Islam and Mecca that goes back to the old Saturnian symbol for the Saturn in the ancient Arabic world. Islam is nothing more than the worship of the planet of Saturn, and the Mecca is the old black square. And anybody who's done any research on the ancient god Saturn knows that that was one of the symbols in the Arabic world for the planet Saturn was a black square, and it was called the Kaaba, which was a black cube, and there's a whole study.
Like I said, when you graduate college, what do you put on your head? The cube, a black cube. You wear the black gown and outfit, just like the judge, just like the police officers do now, just like your priest, just like the Nazis. We can go on forever and just keep seeing people and authoritative figures that have graduated into the occult of Saturn. Maybe they know it, maybe they don't. You know what I'm saying? And their representation and what they're wearing points them out.
Black cube, the black square in relation to the planet Saturn. And there's a whole study going on about the connection between the
what was it? Transformers, right? Transformers got that cube going on in there, right?
Grammaton.
And it was all that fallen angel talking about we hide amongst the stars and we wait and watch over you. We're here to protect you and all this and that. Blah, blah, blah. Decepticon.
Name for God in Hebrew, going back to the swastika. And, so many of most people don't realize that 4/5 of all the Jews on the earth are not Semitic. That's another big subject of mine that
Look at the brother! Look at the brother! Look at that! We already said this before. I always like to point that out. Maybe because I'm envious they got dreads and I don't. Whatever.
I'm just amazed that people use terms that they don't understand. So 4/5 of the Jews on the earth are not Semitic to start with. They're called Ashkenazi. N-A-Z-I. Ashkenazi.
Well, tell us something we don't know, right?
And so there's a definite connection between the ancient Semitic peoples, the ancient Sumerian peoples, ancient Sumerians, the ancient Hindus, the sun god Aton in Egypt, and how all of this stuff has evolved over and mutated over the centuries, over thousands of years. It's mutated, evolved, and comes to us today as the Hebrew religion, the Islamic religion of Muhammad, the Christian religion. All of these ancient religions come from the same source. It goes back into an ancient world of occultism.
Speaking of that, as you see the shadow of the moon, I often wonder if the moon is erratic and it's not traveling. Like if you ever pay attention, it doesn't stay in one set pattern. It doesn't rise in the east, sets in the west. It's all over the night sky. So what gets in the way of it? In my opinion, that I'm asking, what gets in the way of it that causes it to black out so we can have, full moons and not, and quarter moons and stuff like that. To me, it almost makes me wonder, now that we know that, and we observe it, and we know that it's not traveling, like the sun does in a set path, is there a planet that's actually out there that's closer to Earth that we don't know about that's actually blocking its way, or and causes it to go through those stages? It's just a question. I mean, I know it's not Saturn, but it's just a question.
Mysticism. All three major religions require a book, and so they're referred to as the people of the book. And what is the bottom line on the?
All right, so that's just one tip of Saturn, and that I believe it's all connected back to the people creating the clay people and stuff like that. So, just check out these. Let's start to do our own research if we can. Let's get a hold of some Canaanite Phoenician writings and stuff like that. All right, it's M.W. Smith, and I'm out.